Yeah.
Are we live now?
We should be live. So welcome again to the live reading of Tamer 8 plus Q&A with our friends from Actors Everywhere, Christopher Boucher and Jessica Threet.
Yay!
Hello.
And of course, Mike Scott Earl as well. Yeah. But you're not here for him today, probably.
Short shrift. That's rough.
So we're talking about how fabulous Chris's hat is.
Yep. People in
Sure.
people in chat are actually saying nice hat, so they enjoy it.
All right. Hold on. So where am I getting this? Where can I get this chat?
So you just got to
You don't
go
get it.
to the
You don't
Facebook
get this.
page.
No, you can go to the Facebook group.
Yeah.
I'm on the Facebook. I'm on there.
And you can see it come in, but you want to make sure you mute the.
Yeah, I have the site muted.
Yeah, because I didn't mute that, and then it was like
Goo, goo, goo,
Rob
goo.
8 times. In my
Watch
brain.
live. Do I have to watch the live video, or can I just get the chat?
You got to click on to watch the live video.
Yeah.
Then you can mute it.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Like button is moved. Thanks a lot, guy. Fan of the hat. Thank you, Joshua Root.
All
Chris
right.
is really, yep. Vlad. Hey, Vlad. What's up, man?
All right. So why don't we just do a quick intro, just to get everybody up to speed. Again, we're going to be going through Tamer 8, a live read for everybody to get some extra hype, because I know everybody's super excited for that book to come out. Obviously, everybody on this side of the screen is as well. But why don't we go ahead and start with Chris? Chris, tell the folks who you are, what you're about, and how awesome you are.
Who I am. Chris, co-founder of Actors Everywhere, narrator, and general storyteller, I suppose. Here to read to y'all tonight. Hope I can spin or help display a yarn that Michael Scott Earl's already spun for you guys.
Very cool. Very cool. Jess, you're up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica, narrator and all of the above as well. Very excited to be here. Excited to share this with you guys and get you all teased and pumped for this story and all of that. So
Teased and pumped. Ooh.
yeah, that you can use that. You can use that in your next book.
Right.
Not copyright.
I think I will. Whew, getting hot in here.
And then, of course, Michael Scott. You can say hi. I'm Michael Scott.
Hello, friends. Love you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. And what are you drinking tonight,
Need a
Michael
thirsty
Scott?
Thursday.
I'm drinking the best whiskey I've ever had. It's a Nika coffee malt, which is now impossible to get. So I had ordered a bunch of bottles from the UK. And it took them 2 months to get here. But,
all right. Anybody else out there drinking along? Everybody, I know that we typically say, don't forget your beverage. Oh, nice raspberry lime flavored seltzer. That looks delicious.
Yeah, nice.
And
Don't be surprised if I burp. I apologize in
All right.
advance.
Chris is pouring something.
I'm constrained.
Whiskey or scotch?
I'm going not. No, I'm going. I would have done. I was going to go straight gin tonight, but I'm actually going non-alcoholic. Shout out to as much as I love a good cocktail. Well, shout out to my brothers on the wagon. Good for him.
Okay, very nice.
And for anybody else who likes to join, Seedlip makes some killer mocktail beverages.
Oh, that's cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this is kind of a almost semi-gin like thing.
Yeah.
And I've got a decent like a decent what do they do there? That's a
The amaretto.
yeah, amaretto. They make a really good amaretto similarity.
Yeah.
So
We got a lot of drinkers out there. I'm seeing Kraken and Dr. Pepper, Fireball, coffee.
Thirsty Thursday.
Fireball. What are you, a fraternity brother?
That's actually
Please.
Elizabeth Jordan.
Trying to
That's
kill your
that's a
throat?
lady. It's a lady drinking Fireball.
Hey, there's
I'm
nothing wrong with Fireball.
She likes it spicy.
in my opinion.
I have too many memories from college doing shots of Fireball. I can't. Like
A Fireball hot toddy is pretty gosh
Yeah.
darn good.
I see some Crown and Coke.
Yep.
No.
Crown and Coke.
nice,
That works.
nice.
I saw
you will
some,
find me with fruity drinks that don't taste like alcohol, and that's about it.
yeah, and I also saw some Bud Light in there. So for
Bud Light.
for keeping
King
it
of beer.
keep it American.
Enough.
Um,
True question.
Is-
So if you want to answer questions, should we be typing them or can we just like say these?
No, just
You just
Sam.
answer.
Just Sam.
Oh,
Is Bud Light better than Coors Light?
I don't
I don't know.
I don't like any of those beers.
Yeah, there's not really any winners in that whole.
I've had Coors Light, and I was not happy with
Yeah,
it.
but I mean, if that's your thing, more power to you. But
Yeah.
There's those PBR drinkers out there, right? So
I only drink craft beer.
Oh, that's how I am. I'm a beers. Like my light beer is like a Shiner Bock, which is like Texas's Bock, which is it's like dark.
I like Hefeweizens.
That's pretty good. Little slice of orange in there.
Yeah.
Yep, those are
Man,
good.
Jessica's getting some love.
Yep.
It's probably because they never see me. I'm not wearing makeup. Sorry, y'all. This is how I woke up. I didn't even.
She was gonna dress in cosplay with a bikini, but
no,
it's
still too cold. Do you see this blanket? I have a blanket on. I can't.
All right. One more thing before we jump into this, I did want to give you guys a chance early to kind of plug what you guys have been going on your side of the fence. Somewhere I have this screen. Hey, look, there it is.
Oh wow!
I did a thing. So yeah, why don't you tell them what you guys have put together for Patreon and what you guys are doing there?
Jess, you want to take that?
Sure. So we have a Patreon. We sent out a little teaser video a long while back, and we have it up now. It's an awesome like rundown of different things depending on what tier you choose. We have a Discord group just for our Patreon members that we chat with and like get to know like our fans and answer any questions they have for us. We have stuff like bloopers to where you can hear you're gonna hear it tonight. You're gonna hear us mess up. It's gonna happen, but sometimes we're really funny when we mess up. And and so we have a collection of that going on. Other things are we have an amazing photographer on staff who does photography for us to where we do like cosplay as certain characters. We'll do like original content and cosplay of that. We do some live events. Probably some of you that are on our Patreon in that tier are here tonight. But we try to do a live event a month where we kind of have our fans join us for random things like a drinking game while we read a script, or movie night, or Q&As, or D&D where we take the random characters from these stories and create like a tabletop D&D game from it. So just some ideas out there.
Sounds fucking cool. I want to watch you guys play D&D.
Yes, I have a whole entire like book. I am a nerd.
You could probably do that and have like authors come and join you.
Yeah,
That's like we could play their different characters in our campaign setting. So like we get them up. So I think it'd be kind of fun.
Awesome. Well, yeah.
You guys will talk about the other thing you're working on, or you want to wait until?
That's probably a little bit down the road, but I mean we can definitely.
We can do little tease, baby
like
tease.
Time.
Why don't we hold off on that one till the Q&A at the end?
Yeah, roger that.
Because it'll make people stay if you want to hear about what that actually is.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh yeah. So, and then of course,
you're a little blue baller in bed, ain't you, Rob?
Maybe.
You're just the worst.
Don't worry about that. And then of course, we want to thank you guys for where we're at with the Kickstarter. I mean, we're way ahead of where we were with the last book. You guys obviously love Tamer. We love putting it out for you, or Michael Scott does specifically. I don't do anything except put these video things together for you guys. But yeah, we're at 92.7. I'm super hopeful, and I know we're gonna get there to get to the patches, because our art team put a lot of time and effort into those. I think the patches are going to be awesome as a stretch goal. So yeah, thank you guys again. That's what we're here for. Without you guys supporting the Patreon, we wouldn't be doing this, plus getting the book done. So
heck yeah,
thank you.
So the Kickstarter has helped me write the other, like Tamer, and then like the other series throughout the year that you guys like. So the Kickstarters are pretty cool. And it's the book so far, from what the proofreaders have said, is pretty freaking awesome and exciting and amazing. So, and we're gonna read the first part of chapter 1.
Whoop, whoop.
All right, I will leave it to whomever is going to start this, because I actually have.
Probably Chris. I think the first line is Chris's.
Yeah, indeed.
All right.
Yeah, indeed.
And scene.
All right. We got our guy.
I'm pretty sure I was supposed to say that at the end, though, so I failed already.
That's, yeah.
It's fine.
All right. All right. Recording in 3, 2. Chapter 1. I'd never ridden a motorcycle or a dirt bike before, but I imagined riding Dwayne was 10 times more fun. The horse-sized black Utah Raptor wasn't quite as fast as my Packies, Beavis and Butthead on the straightaways, but he accelerated just as fast and cornered way better. I wouldn't have actually thought this would be the case, but as I raced Sheila and Leopold through the jungles and across the pristine white beaches west of our new fort, the strengths of my new pal were quite obvious. Maybe it was the connection I shared with Dwayne while I rode him that made his movements more accurate than Beavis and Butthead's, but my two Packies were pretty hardcore racing dudes, and I could sense their frustrations as they tried to keep up with the Utah Raptor as we tore across the land. Yeah! I couldn't help but shout when Dwayne jumped 10 feet high and bounced off the top crest of a fallen redwood. And then I felt my stomach drop as he held his wings out so that we softly hit the ground afterward. I twisted my head around to see if Leopold and Sheila would try to make the jump over the log, but they both decided to angle around the obstacle, and I gained even more ground on them as we troned through the jungle. I popped out of the jungle line and banked hard to the right on the beach. A wave of white sand sprayed out to the left as Dwayne dug in to make a turning berm, and I felt my grin spread wider across my face as the mid-morning sun heated my face. Then it was back into the thick jungle, where my ride gracefully bounded over rocks in between trees and splashed through creeks without a care. And why would Dwayne worry? Utah Raptors weren't as big as the other apex predators I'd come up against, but I knew the black-feathered dino could probably take out a Carno in a slugfest, and anything meaner, like a T-Rex or Allosaurus, I could probably run away from. He was, pound for pound, the deadliest dinosaur on this world, and he was a member of my family now. I slowed his gallop a bit so we didn't lose Sheila and Leopold in the jungle, and then the three of us rode in a V formation for the next 10 minutes or so until we hit the first of the giant sequoias. Whoa! I cowboyed as I slowed to a trot, and then I smiled at my two lovers as we all stopped in the shadow of the first redwood.
He is fast.
Leopold whooped, and then she leaned down to pat Beavis's huffing flanks.
We tried our best to keep up.
Yeah, I said. I think his wings actually help.
I seemed to hold the outside one when he turned. I messed it up. That's where we click.
Get our click notes.
He seemed to hold the outside one out when he turned.
Sheila said.
As a counterbalance?
I think so, I said, as I stroked the silky feathers on Dwayne's neck. It's really incredible riding him that fast. I don't know. I feel really powerful.
You look powerful.
Leopold said, as her red eyes roamed down to my chest. Thanks. We need to get a few more Utah Raptors to join our family. Then we'll be unstoppable.
It would be nice to get more carnivorous dinosaurs, but feeding them might be an issue.
True. It hasn't been a big deal for the last few days, but the herbivores are easier. We can just let them graze. Dwayne eats 10 big fish every day. It's almost triple what our tribe actually eats, including the Balors and Troodons.
Bruce doesn't seem to mind fishing for everyone.
Leopold shrugged, and then all of us looked back up to the forest of giant redwoods for a few moments.
They are all about the size of a large one we built our walls up into the previous camp.
Sheila said. The cheetah woman huntress, I'm going to take that back. The cheetah woman huntress was correct. Our last camp was set in a clearing, surrounded with large sequoias on our west, south, and east sides. The trees had been an assortment of sizes from easily manageable trunks that were half a foot in diameter to giant ones that were 10 feet in diameter. But there was a massive 30-ish foot diameter one right in the center of the clearing that we'd built our fort walls next to. It was a truly massive tree with top branches that kissed the clouds. These guys to the northwest of our new camp were about equal in size.
I don't think they'll work. Or I guess a better question is, how are we going to cut one of these down and drag it all the way back to the camp so we can build with it?
Keep looking up, I said. And then both of the beautiful women tilted their heads back even more so that they were almost looking straight up.
We cut the boughs. Yeah, most of those look workable. Who is going to climb up there and cut them?
Leopa asked as she ran her fingers through her long white hair.
I guess me. Trell.
Oh, I've seen you climb trees almost as good as Trell, and you can float to the ground, right?
The bark is thick enough for me to get handholds easily enough.
Leopa said as she dismounted from the packy and walked over.
I could probably make the branches weigh less so they won't drop as hard to the ground. Then I can lighten them so that the trikes or stegos can drag them back. It will be a lot of work.
Sheila frowned as she looked up again. My ears must have heard wrong. I gasped dramatically as I put my hand to my bare chest. Did Sheila just complain about working?
No.
Sheila looked back at me, and even though the stoic huntress didn't smile, her beautiful golden eyes twinkled with a bit of mirth.
Just stating the facts. This will be harder than building our old fort since we're not able to use our dinosaurs to fell the trees, and the logs will have to be dragged for 3 miles instead of a few hundred yards. Sounds like fun. I need something to do. Yulina, G, and Emta are making bricks swiftly, and I feel kind of useless at camp.
It's been 2 days since we got here, but you already feel useless?
I'd prefer a job that only I can do.
Leopa admitted with a shrug of her muscular shoulders.
Makes me feel important. Victor?
Sheila took a deep breath as she looked up at the massive trees.
Do we even need this timber? With Yelena's abilities to mold the stone if she wants, this does seem like extra work we don't need to do. And there Sheila goes, taking away all my fun. Not my intent.
Sheila smiled. Well, I've thought about it a bunch the last few days. It's kind of why I wanted to check out this forest. There is a lot for Yulina, Trell, Kassiri, hell, everyone to do. But Yulina seems like a bottleneck. She's helping to build the walls. Trell wants her to make pipes for plumbing. She needs to build hip-high walls around the cliff ledges so we have good vantage points. And we need to make the gates.
We need the timber for the gates.
Sheila nodded. We can probably make them out of stone or something, but that's a probably, which might as well be an eventually. And I'm worried about getting attacked every day. I want these trees to make the gates.
Part of the strategy for moving to this new place was so that it would be harder to find us.
Leopa said as she gestured to the massive tree trunks.
This is going to make a lot of noise and a huge mess as we drag them through the jungle and across the beach to our fort. It will be an advertisement for anyone traveling by. Now it seems as if you are looking to ruin your own fun.
Sheila smirked.
Just thinking out loud.
Oh, it's a valid concern, I said, as I felt my lips curl into a smirk. If we bring the logs out to the shore of the beach and walk across the wet sand where the ocean waves are, it should wash away our footsteps.
That is a good plan.
Sheila nodded.
We just have the bit of jungle we'd have to tear down before we get to the stamp. I literally just tried to reach for my clicker.
Dude, Jess, I have been not moving my script while you're reading because I keep not realizing that you have a completely different
Yep.
You guys are like really on point though. I appreciate the hand holding.
Oh yeah, no. This is usually the pace and accuracy with which we usually record.
But I imagine you guys are sitting right next to each other, right? When you're doing this.
Well, we're So you guys will get to see eventually when we
Yeah,
show
we're
you
gonna have
stuff
some behind the
from
scene videos on our Patreon. Ding ding
it'll,
ding.
it'll be great. But our booth is set up so that Jess and I are standing up facing each other. We have one person who drives, so they work the keyboard and it splits the video to 2 screens. So Jess has her own screen, I have my own screen, but I'm usually driving.
Oh,
So when she's reading, I make sure not to scroll the page to get that. So you got to
that's
kind
pretty
of think
smart.
about when you're going to
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, I
We also
spend
have
a
all
lot of
these
time
weird
trying to
hand
design them.
gestures and stuff we do too. Like to
Yeah,
help think through
when we're
all-
like, hey, keep going, like skip this dialogue tag because it'll be better to keep moving through it. It'll sound better. And then Jess warns me when like, hey, new character coming up, be ready. Like we give each other hand signals in the booth and everything. It's
Chris, I am like pleasantly surprised by how much body movement and hand motions and smiles and all the stuff you do.
Oh yeah,
that doesn't happen as much in the booth because if he did, he would bonk every single thing in the booth. This is for you guys.
Yeah,
This is specifically for you.
So he's hamming it up for us. That's cool.
I want to. Well, I get to do it. I would love to, but here's in the booth if you do something like that, and we'll do that for like running, like if you're jogging or whatever. We do that to generate those sounds. But what you have to do, you have to stay really close to the mic. So if I do that, I'm like an owl that like where they stick their head and like your whole body's moving, but like your head is staying in one place. It's super awkward. So you don't get to do it as much when you're actually in the booth.
Yeah. So he's hamming it up.
Yeah, and we're also stage actors, so I'm inclined to go a little over the top. So yeah.
Do you we're kind of segueing away from the thing we jump back in a second, but do you find that I know you guys hire mostly Broadway actors to work with you? Do you find they have a lot more range and they kind of do that stuff? And when you move them over to voice acting, or have you ever hired someone that just have only done voice acting, or is it you just take from Broadway actors and then you have them?
Well, not Broadway actors, more like trained theater people. Like
theater people.
Yeah. We've noticed that like when it comes to the people with theater backgrounds, they tend to have a lot more theatrical and like the way that they read these stories. Like, like you can listen to some like audiobooks and it's like, well, I started as I closed my eyes and took a deep breath and tried to arrange other things. Like it's very kind of like flat. And we found that when you take somebody with a theatrical background, they'll make it more lively, especially for something that is in a first-person narrative, which is what we kind of have brought to this genre. And I think a lot of audiobooks in general is just bring a lot more theatricality and like realism to these characters.
The fantasy and sci-fi genres lend themselves to a little bit more heightened circumstances. You can kind of play these characters a little bit bigger. And when you first approached and we were you talked about us doing your books, we talked about whether that was going to work, whatever. And I think we had developed that when we were working with a couple other narrators too. It all
we started that out with when Eric Ball first reached out to us and everything, and then like when like you reached out later. It's slowly been, but like we were very excited when you reached out and we're like, hey, do you want to do my books? And we were like, oh my God, please.
Yeah. Well, you guys did one of his series. I forget which one. And
we
then
did. I think we started with Metal Mage, didn't we? Or was it Succubus Lord?
I can never. So we started around the same time with Outlaw, Metal Mage, and Succubus Lord. I can never remember which was our first book. Fans, if any of you know, if you're like super fans, let us know. I would love to know release-wise which was our first book. I think it was Succubus Lord. But I could be wrong. Could have been Metal Mage. But we started all three of those around the similar time.
But it definitely made huge waves in like the audiobook listener community where everyone's like, oh my God, what is this? People read like a man and a woman reading together.
We had kind of a we've arrived moment. So we do some work for Podium too, that publishing company. And they were out of the blue. We were just talking about some stuff like whether we had some narrators available for them. And they were talking about how it seems like this genre isn't drying up, and it's just, so annoying because a few years ago it started becoming big about they want a guy and a girl doing it. And the person we were talking to didn't realize. I was like, do you remember roughly when that time span happened? And I knew, and they were like, I was like about 2-3 years ago or so. I was like, yeah, because we started it. Like that was the reason that happened.
For sure.
And they were like, oh, well, we hate you. But also
well, it's like, I had Luke Daniels doing Tamer and he did a great job, but
absolutely.
There was issues, booking him initially because it would take him a couple months to do the book. And then, his price just got so expensive. I looked at him like, I can't pay $1,000 an hour. Right. And then he even changed it where it was $1,000 an hour. Plus he wanted a revenue share. And it's like,
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I was
yeah,
like,
I remember
bro,
that.
there's
Yeah.
I remember
that just doesn't make any sense, man. Like, you
Yeah.
know, so I'm like, well, how do you overcome that? And I heard you guys were doing the dual narration. I'm like, well, that's amazing. Like,
Yeah,
that's
volume. Our
gotta
business
be,
model was based on volume as opposed
Yeah.
to you know, like taking 2 months to do it.
yeah.
So you know, that's the
Well, it's interesting too, because it's like I've always thought, like with narrators, I'm like, I mean, the books, let's say the book's 10 hours long.
Mhm.
How many days does it really take to read it? And you know, Chris, I think you explained like, well, you can only talk for so many hours, you
yeah.
know, where your voice goes.
Two and a
Yeah.
half a day is
Yeah.
roughly where you kind of start getting reasonable tap out
Yeah.
rates for most
Yeah. So
people.
what you see, if you talk for 2.5 hours and you're doing a 10-hour book, that should take you a week to do the book. So I always never really understood why it took so long. But I do the same thing with writing. I'm like, I don't know, it takes
Yeah.
it takes an hour to write 1,000 words if you're just chilling, you
Yeah.
know. So like if a book's 100,000 words, that's 100 hours. A work week is 40 hours, right? It's, you know, that's 2.5 weeks. It should take you to write the book. So I never really got why
Yeah.
authors couldn't do a book.
Yeah, it's about I think it's about the discipline, it's the desire. In this industry, especially now, having hired a lot of people and gone through a lot of narrators, we just find that like, look, the artistic industry attracts a lot of people who want like the, you know, the ability to kind of work when they want to, do these projects when they're inspired. Whereas like the, you know, the writers that pump stuff out, the Stephen Kings, the Hughes, where they're like, look, just write. It's better to get stuff out there and then go edit it later than to just sit there waiting for inspiration.
It's just a job, man. Like
Yeah.
you just clock in the
exactly.
morning, do your
Yep.
fucking work, clock out at night. You know, like it's
Yep.
and there are
Absolutely.
way shittier jobs for sure. I've worked
Oh,
them. There's a way. I think about what I was doing before this, and I'm like, I do not want to go back to that at all. So I will work as many hours as I need to not have to go back to that.
This is
You know?
where the flirting voice steps in and says, "Get back on task."
Really?
Just kidding, but
No,
not
no,
kidding.
we should. We'll get back to it. Where were we?
I was
we'll
we
do
just
more.
had a that well, do you want to go back to that's a good plan? Sheila nodded.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Right. All right. That is a good plan.
Sheila nodded.
We just have the bit of jungle we'd have to tear down before we get to the sand. So when can I get started?
Leopa asked as she clapped her silver hands together. Well, I started as I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and tried to arrange all the things I wanted to do into the days, like falling Tetris pieces. We'll run it by Trell and Kassiri to see if they have any ideas to help move the logs easier. Then I'd like to start in a few days. I have something else for us to do tomorrow.
Oh.
Sheila raised her eyebrow. Well, it's a surprise.
I love surprises, especially when it's a Victor surprise. Victor surprise.
Sheila raised her other eyebrow at the red-eyed beauty.
You love them too.
Leopa winked at Sheila, and the cheetah woman actually grinned wide.
I suppose I do.
Just then, the jungle thrashed behind us, and my packs of Troodons and Balor Bondocs bounded toward us with happy hoots and hisses. The tiger-striped Troodons, editing catch that says stripped, should be tiger-striped, catch that.
Oh, you know, I do that all the time.
I know. At some point, you want to pay us a little bit more, we'll catch your editing.
You know, actually, I'm doing a bit of rewriting as you're reading. I'm like, I don't like that word there. Rewrite.
Also, Chris
Good.
and I, whenever there's huge stretches of alliteration, we pretend to take a shot glass like, ooh, that was a hard one.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I did that, in case anybody's wondering.
Oh, which one? What did you do the shot on?
The Balor Bonducks bounded toward us with happy hoots and hisses.
Ooh.
That's a good one. Yep. Good call. Good call. Yeah,
I didn't know you guys did that. I will focus on making more of them.
If either
We don't
someone's
actually
got
take
like
a shot glass, we pretend.
Yeah.
we do that with either particularly impressive things where either narrator like lands a sentence that we're like, well done, without screwing it up, or if someone does like a cat, like something that they're always doing, like people have their
Like the blonde
catchphrases.
beauty.
Yeah, like blonde bombshells or
Oh, I do that all the time.
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, absolutely. And we end up like
Yep.
faking a shot every time we come across that. It's like, oh, cheers. You know, like, all right. Just then, the jungle thrashed behind us, and my packs of Troodons and Balor Bondocs bounded toward us with happy hoots and hisses. The tiger-striped Troodons were sleeker than the muscular Balors, but Since they both arrived behind us at the same time, I reasoned that they had the same relative long-distance running speed. Hey, guys, I said as I waved to the group of golden retriever-sized raptors. Nice of you to join us. Chandler seemed to shrug as he hissed, but Scoob hooted an apology as he bowed his head a bit. Ah. I cooed as I reached down to pet the orange feathers on top of his head. I was just joking, buddy. It's hard to keep up with Dwayne, Beavis, and Butthead. They all run way faster than I can. I'm just happy we could all get some exercise. Especially Chandler, Joey, Ross, Rachel, Monica, and Phoebe. You all have been on guard duty for so long. The cream and white feathered raptors nodded slightly as they let out happy hisses.
The connection you have with your dinosaurs still astounds me. You talk to them as if they are just as smart as us.
Well, I think they are. I shrugged. At least I think they're important enough to talk to like they're one of us.
I agree. We would not have accomplished a fraction of what we have without their help. Yep.
Leopa said as she reached down to pet Phoebe on the head.
Oh, I love these guys, especially the ladies. They pull their weight. Don't you, girl?
Phoebe let out a happy hiss as she leaned up into Leopa's hand, and the other female Balors and Troodons trotted over to the silver-skinned woman so she could give them all pets. Let's head back, I said a minute or so later as I turned Dwayne back south toward where I knew the ocean was. We can race back if you... Oh. My words caught in my mouth as I heard the distant crash and thump in the jungle. It sounded like a falling tree cutting through a bunch of branches, and the thump sounded like something big taking a step. A really aggressive step. Leopa and Sheila didn't speak as I urged Dwayne southwest toward the noise. Instead, they guarded my flanks and pulled out their weapons. Sheila had her bow, and Leopa hefted an extra thick spear that she could toss with enough force to impale a few feet into a tree. Once upon a time, we would just run from any strange noises. Now I was the king of this land, and my queens also had very little to fear. The noise repeated a few moments later, and I could feel the rumble and shake of the jungle floor up through Dwayne's legs. Whatever it was big as fuck and moving in a hurry. Birds flew up and out of the jungle canopy a moment after an angry roar echoed toward us, and then a few small dinos, lizards, and mole-looking mammals scurried past us as they evacuated what was now starting to sound like an epic battle happening a few hundred yards away. Then there was a screech of pain that reminded me of a train slamming on its brakes, and I urged Dwayne forward a bit faster. The jungle wasn't particularly dense, but we still had to thread around some trees, duck under branches, jump over a little babbling brook, and push aside curtains of vines as we hurried toward our destination.
It sounds like a group of 3 carnivores have caught a meal.
Sheila whisper hissed as a few more roars and screeches cut through the air.
And we are heading in that direction because...
Leopa smirked at me. 'Cause I don't know about you two, but I'm getting sick of fish.
I can agree with that. Clearing up ahead.
Sheila announced, and then we slowed our pace a bit so that we could peek into the clearing without making our presence obvious. The first dinosaur I spotted was a 2-horned Carnotaurus, sidestepping about 50 yards ahead of us. Beyond him was another Carno, engaged in a duel with what looked like a smaller version of a Brontosaurus. A quick blink of my IQ told me it was a male Gallimiopus pabsti, and he was trying to defend himself from the Carno while also protecting his female mate, who was battling with a third Carno. The Gallimopuses were a bit bigger than the Carnos at the shoulder and probably twice the weight. But then another Carno barreled out of the jungle and jumped onto the male Gallia's... Gallia? No, the shortened time. I don't know. We're going to go with Gallia there? You think?
Whatever you want.
Gallia? All right.
chances are we'll be wrong, and some paleontologist dude will be like,
Yeah,
Well,
I will.
let's go back and redo 127 troodons. It's fine.
yeah.
Does everyone here know that? That's worth taking a moment to know.
Someone might know how to pronounce it.
No, the fact that I fucked up the
Oh.
pronunciation of the name Troodon, and
He
when
said
we
Troodon through the whole entire book 1.
Yep.
And then one of our beta listeners went, that's a Troodon? And he was like, fuck. It was like 127 times. It was something obnoxious that he had to go back and do. And I was like, that is all you, buddy. That's all you. I ain't helping. Goodbye.
yeah, not only that, but like, yeah, none of your characters ever
I
said
never said it.
the
I never said it.
name. It was so bullshit.
So
That
she
one
was
I
clear.
Yeah,
Yep.
she was like, buena suerte, amigo. I was
Yep. She's like, she did a Loki. That's terrible. Anyways.
Yeah. So tell me when you're done, and then
Speaking
we'll
of,
move
have
on.
a doctor's appointment. Bye.
So I looked up Galliomopuses. I'm pretty sure that one's correct, but the Gallia. Gal like that. Gallia.
Probably.
All right,
Yeah,
we're
if it's
gonna go with
Galliomopuses, it's Gallia, right? The shortened version.
that. Yeah, that sounds right. We'll go with that.
Yeah,
All right.
let's chat.
Bringing it back. The Galliomopuses were a bit bigger than the Carnos at the shoulder and probably twice the weight. But then another Carno barreled out of the jungle and jumped onto the male Gallia's back. And I guessed the outcome of this struggle. Everyone had to eat. The female sauropod flicked her tail around to hit her Carno attacker, but she missed by a wide margin. And I saw that her face was covered in bloody scratches. Another Carno circled around her, and the Carno on top of the male was able to get his toe hooks deep into his prey, a moment before his teeth clamped down on the meaty flesh at the base of the sauropod's spine.
What's the plan?
The two herbivores are going to die no matter what we do. And I'm kind of interested in seeing what they taste like. I say we take the Carnos out as soon as they finish hunting, and then we take the meat.
You all confident we can take 4 of them?
The Balors and Troodons aren't going to be much help against the Carnos, but I'm confident you can take 4 of them by yourself, my beautiful huntress. Just leave 3 for Dwayne, Leopa, and I to have some fun, okay?
Yes, Victor.
Sheila's cheeks actually blushed a bit from my praise, and she adjusted her bow so that her knocked arrow was aimed in the general direction of the Carnos. Take out the one at the back who's pacing around. With luck, his pals won't know that he's down until it's too late.
I just lost my place. I'm so sorry. I scrolled too far.
You're totally good. I'll take it back.
No. I lost my place. Hold on. Give me a second because I scrolled too much.
You're good. Page 8.
This is the problem when I don't lead, guy. When I have to lead my own thing, I scroll too much. All right, I'm good. I found it.
You're good? All right, I'm going to take it back. Take out the one at the back who's pacing around. With luck, his pals won't know that he's down until it's too late.
Yes, Victor.
Sheila said, as she pulled back the string of her bow to her cheek. Then she held still, like a bronze statue of a Greek goddess, for a handful of seconds as the battle surged before us. There were several times where I thought that her target exposed a vital spot to us, but Sheila didn't take the shot. I trusted her ability, but I realized I was holding my breath, so I carefully exhaled and then inhaled so that I wouldn't interfere with her concentration. The male sauropod rolled onto his side in an attempt to throw the Carno off his back, but that just exposed his juicy belly, and the 2 Carnos who weren't engaging the female pounced forward like starving cats after an opened can of tuna. Just as I thought they were about to claw into the sauropod's belly, the large herbivore kicked out at the last second and knocked the predator that Sheila had been targeting away. The Carno twisted his neck around as if he'd been clocked by a heavyweight boxer, and he lurched toward us to recover his footing. Sheila let loose. The arrow flew too fast for me to track, but the Carno dropped instantly without even making a death screech, and I felt my jaw drop open as my catgirl lover smoothly pulled another arrow back on the bow.
Right through his fucking eyeball. What a shot. It was acceptable.
Sheila breathed as she tracked the next Carno closest to us. I didn't even see it hit. You've got the lift ball reflex. You've got the lift ball reflexes.
Which one next?
I hesitated as the two attacking the male sauropod managed to finally get to his stomach and rip it open like an overstuffed burrito. Either the two ripping up the stomach.
I'll wait for a shot. We going to get in on this?
Leopa asked me as she pulled her arm back to test her spear weight. I think Dwayne wants to get the one attacking the female sauropod at the back. All right, buddy? The big Utah raptor let out a growl that vibrated up through my hips and made my vision blur. He was hungry not just for meat, but for violence. And even though the Carno was about 2.5 times his size, I knew Dwayne would fuck the horned predator's shit up. Go get him, pal, I said as I jumped off the saddle. The Utah raptor took off like a bullet leaving a rifle and crossed the 60 or so yards before I could blink twice. Then he slammed into the side of the much larger Carno like a pirate cannonball into the side of a cardboard castle. Scales and black feathers exploded in the air half a moment before a fountain of blood gushed into the air and sprayed all over the dying female sauropod. The Carno didn't even have a chance to scream before Dwayne got his jaws around the bigger dino's throat. Then my new pal yanked his whole body back like he was snatching an Olympic bar over his head, and the Carno's entire head ripped off. Holy shit! I gasped as an impossible amount of blood filled the air. The other two Carnos, finishing off the male, flinched as their friend was fucking murdered. But as soon as they turned toward Dwayne, Sheila let go of her arrow, and the Carno closest to us went rigid as the arrow hit right through the temple. Sheila let go of her arrow, and the Carno closest to us went rigid as the arrow hit him right in the temple. That just left one Carno left, and Leopa stepped forward as she whipped her arm back and twisted her hips.
My turn.
She grunted as she hurled her thick spear, and I held my breath as the weapon flew the 40 yards and slammed right into the side of the last Carno, like a skewer into the side of a chicken. The Carno yelped like a kicked dog before it fell off the side of the dead sauropod, but it stumbled up to its feet a few moments later. The spear had hit it right under the left arm where its lungs were, so I figured it would die soon. But its red eyes fixed on us as it stepped forward. Uh-oh, I said as the Carno took another hesitant step.
Well, shit. I think it is dead, but doesn't know it.
Sheila said as she calmly knocked another arrow.
You can finish it off. It is your kill. I think it is fine.
Sure enough, the Carno took 3 more steps toward us before it spit out 5 gallons of blood and then collapsed on the grass of the clearing. Leopa and I exhaled, and then I looked back to Dwayne to find him tearing out the throat of the female sauropod to give her a quick death. The entire clearing was half covered in blood, and the 6 massive corpses stood like crimson hills against the violent landscape. Well, I began as I stepped into the clearing. Looks like we got plenty of meat now.
The sauropods are more than we could ever eat.
Yeah, maybe, I said with a shrug as I gave the mental signal for Dwayne and the group of Troodons and Balors to begin their feast. I'm just glad it isn't fish. The Carnos don't taste the best, so I don't really want to bother eating them. I'm hoping the sauropods taste better.
Should we cut some off and take it back?
Leopa asked as she pulled her golden ring blade off the vine strap tied around her waist. You know, I paused as I looked up at the sun. We told them we'd be gone for most of the day, and it's not even lunchtime yet. What would you both say to having a little barbecue right here?
There is some salt and herbs in Beavis' saddle pack. It was meant to be then. I'll cut off some meat while you get the seasoning and set up the fire. Agreed.
Sheila nodded. What about me?
You can just sit there and look pretty.
Leopold winked at me. How about I set up the roasting spit? My chuckle turned into a full-on laugh.
As long as you keep your shirt off. Oh, hello. That's not Sheila. Hello. As long as you keep your shirt off.
Leopold said as she glanced down at my bare chest again. I don't even know where my shirt went.
Perfect.
She laughed, and Sheila actually joined her. I'm more than just a sexy body. I gasped with fake outrage as I moved to the side of the jungle to grab some wood pieces to make a split.
Oh,
Spit,
yes, you
spit.
are.
That should be a spit, I think. I'm guessing, MSE?
Is it a spit? I think
I could be wrong. To be fair, I don't do a whole lot of
Yeah.
barbecuing over the open range. So
I also
you
don't
think
do a
it's
lot of
spicy-
spitting.
Well, I just thought the spit was the part that you shoved through the
Yeah.
meat. So I thought that was called a spit, but I wouldn't be surprised if the thing that held it up was called a split. I wouldn't be shocked.
The whole thing is called a spit. So
Oh, okay.
the act of spitting as well as the thing.
Yeah. All right.
Noun and verb. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll take it back. I'm more than just a sexy body. I gasped with fake outrage as I moved to the side of the jungle to grab some wood pieces to make a spit.
Oh, yes, you are.
The three of us were laughing too much to continue talking, so we just focused on putting together the cooking fire and spit. 10 minutes later, I'd staked the base legs of the spit into the ground over Sheila's fire, and we had 4 generous cuts of salted sauropod meat roasting. The meat was a wonderful dark red color, and it smelled like a cross between bacon and beef as it cooked. My raptor dinos were still gorging on the sauropod meat, so Leopold, Sheila, and I lay on a patch of unbloodied grass while we waited for the meat to roast. The scene once again reminded me of how different my life was. Once upon a time, I was just a nerdy dog catcher from Los Angeles who got nervous talking to girls and had only ever won battles when I played video games. Even when I'd first been abducted. Dinosaur Land, I forgot you called it that. Even when I'd first been abducted to Dinosaur Land, I would have been terrified of hanging out next to corpses this big in the middle of a jungle clearing. Now, I wasn't really worried about other dinosaurs coming to fuck with us. Well, some of the bigger predators could cause us some trouble, but we would hear them coming a quarter mile away. I knew how to live on this planet now, and I wasn't worried about the dinosaurs that much anymore, especially now that I had guys like Grumpy and Dwayne on my team. I kept telling myself that I was the king of this world, but times like this made me think I really wasn't lying to myself. Huh? I asked, when Leopold said something under her breath that I didn't quite hear.
This is a good life.
Leopold said again, as she turned the meat on the spit, and then she ran her fingers through her floating white hair before she smiled at me.
With you. It is.
I was just thinking that. I chuckled as I nodded to the corpses around us. Weird to be used to this, but we are.
You were just thinking that?
Sheila asked with a raised eyebrow. Yeah, I nodded as we exchanged a deep look.
What's going on?
Leopold asked as she moved her red eyes to each of us.
Did I say something wrong?
No, it's just
I was thinking the same.
that it was a good life, I asked, and the beautiful cheetah woman just nodded.
Okay, what?
So it seems like I'm shit, I don't know how to say this. Bonded, I guess, to all of you.
Bonded.
Leopold raised an eyebrow.
You mean the sex?
No, deeper.
Yeah.
Leopa looked down to the cooking meat, and her silver cheeks began to darken a bit.
You get really deep.
Not what I meant. I think our minds are connected at a deeper level. I can see through your eyes and hear you from a distance, but you all can also kind of feel what I'm thinking. Sheila and I were experimenting with it a bit on the way to our new fort when we asked you to pick a number.
Hmm.
So I was thinking about being king and how my life has improved since I lived on my old world, even coming here. Life was just,
Better?
yeah. I nodded.
Interesting.
Leopa blushed a bit darker as she focused on the meat again. What? I asked as a grin came to my face.
Nothing.
Oh, come on.
I'm just,
Leopa looked over at Sheila.
I can give you two some alone time. Oh, time alone, if you prefer.
Sheila said as she stood with her usual cat-like grace.
No,
Leopa groaned as she waved her hand at the other woman.
I can say this in front of you, Sheila. Everyone knows my feelings anyway. I just never been in a relationship like this with a single man and multiple women. I was going to say with a man, since there are no men on my world, but yeah, you make a good point. I know these relationships are common on your world. They are.
Sheila nodded.
It does not mean that your concerns or fears are less valid because I'm used to the situation. There you go, being reasonable and nice. Anyway, what I was trying to say before my stomach got tied up into all these knots and heavy things is that it still astounds me that I'm here with you, Victor. I was terrified of you at first, but that quickly turned to intrigue, then lust, then love, and now it does feel like something deeper. Like I was meant to be here with you, and you as well, Sheila. Everyone in our tribe. It feels like home. And I love it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Sheila nodded.
Meat looks done.
Leopa said as she pulled the skewer off the fire. Then we used other sharp sticks to pull the meat off, so we each had our own serving. I knew the sauropods weren't brontosauruses, but I still thought of the hunk of meat as bronto beef, and I imagined Fred Flintstone as I chomped into the juicy hunk. Then the world started to spin as my taste buds alerted my brain to the taste. Oh, whoa. I moaned as I took another bite. It was unbelievably juicy, and it tasted like the perfect mesh of filet mignon and pork belly. It was sweet and salty with the perfect amount of umami, and I had to wipe my chin after my second bite to keep the drool from coming out of my mouth.
It's so good.
Leopa's eyes were closed as she took another bite, and she didn't bother to wipe the dark juice off her chin before it dribbled down between the valley of her perfect breasts. Sheila moaned, and I looked over to see that the huntress's eyes were also closed as she enjoyed the hunk of dark red and brown bronto beef. We are bringing back as much of this as we can. I chuckled before I took another bite. Ah, way better than the fish.
Oh, I can't believe it. I've had some expensive meals in my world, but this simple hunk of meat cooked over a fire with just a bit of salt and chive herbs is better than anything I've ever tasted.
My dinos love it. I laughed as I nodded toward my raptors, and the women turned to see Dwayne, the Troodons, and the Balors all laying on their backs like dogs with their eyes closed. They were also covered with blood from where they had ripped massive holes into the flesh of the female sauropod, but it was obvious that they were beyond content. Leopa, Sheila, and I quickly ate the rest of our meat without speaking anymore, but then Leopold gave us both a grin as she fingered her golden ring again.
Want to cook some more?
Oh, my mouth says yeah, but I know for sure I'd pass out if I ate anymore. There was a stream of water back the way we came. I'm gonna go relieve myself and then wash my hands and face off.
Probably the smart thing to do.
Leopold smiled at me. All right, be back in a minute, I said as I got up, and then I turned away from them and walked into the jungle toward the small stream we'd passed over on our way here. It took me about half a minute to get through the jungle to the stream, and I jumped over it and went another 20 feet so I could piss. Once I was done, I went back to the running water to wash my hands and the juice from the Bronto beef off my face. Water was much cooler than I expected, and it reminded me that the weather was probably going to start getting cold any week now. It still felt refreshing, and I probably spent more time than I should have rinsing off my hands, face, and chest in the cool stream.
Victor!
I heard Sheila call out to me. Here, I called back, even though I knew that she could sense where I was and was already heading right toward me.
Hello?
She said when she came around a tree. Water feels great, I said as I wiped it out of my hair. Give it a try.
I will.
She crouched down in a perfect squat opposite me, took 2 handfuls of water, and then splashed them up into her face. My eyes drifted from her wet hair down her sharp cheekbones and her chiseled arms to her round breasts. Then I noticed the water dripping down her washboard abs before it reached the crotch of her tattered bathing suit bottoms. The way she squatted meant her legs were spread open toward me, and I could see the tightness of the cloth against her pussy lips and the sleek shape of the corded muscle in her thighs. Damn, she was beautiful. Sheila noticed me looking at her, but she didn't say anything. She just gave me her usual smile. But I noticed that her golden cat eyes drifted from my shoulders to my lips and then back down my chest. And then our eyes met again, and there was no denying the heat between us. I stood up and crossed the stream with one step. Sheila came up by the time I made it to her, and I wrapped my right arm around her narrow waist as my left hand came up to grab onto her thick mane of blonde hair. Then I pulled her mouth to mine, and we both moaned as soon as our lips were connected. Her taste was perfect, salty and sweet time. Her tongue was shy against mine, but her moan was just as urgent as mine when I deepened our kiss. Take my pants off, I growled in her ear once our lips parted.
Yes, Victor.
She whispered, and then she dropped back down to her knees and tugged at my belt buckle.
See.
And then
And no more
And the
because
brain
Facebook.
aneurysm.
You're welcome.
and the book ended.
and that's the end of the book.
You'll kind of say it, never without my permission. Whoever just posted Brant, never that one. Someone just made that.
Chris reading erotica to 150 dudes.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That was an odd moment.
I did a Twitch stream once. I think this was for book 6, and I was writing the first Leopold Victor sex scene, and like there's like 200 people in the room, and like no one was chatting anything as I'm like writing it out.
Can someone say something, please? Please. Nicholas, sirs, let's see. All right, okay. You guys talk. I want to scan through the chat and see what people are saying. No, I've never grilled down range. I never freaking got deployed. I sat in Alabama for my entire thing. Even 9/11 happened, they wouldn't let me go. I put in to go overseas, but they wouldn't let me.
Oh.
Crazy. You'd think that my time at a computer would have made me an asset.
Hey, Jess, do you color code any of the lines for the dialogue, or you just kind of look ahead of the tags and then go from there?
I just look ahead at the tags, and I have these handy dandy little Google sheets I made for myself where I have the characters, a description of them, and the accent that I use.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Oh, she's amazing. Like Jess has to keep like usually 10 to not usually, but she can keep easily 10 to 12 women in her brain at one time, the different accents, and be ready to roll. It's just
Wow.
incredible.
Yeah.
Mm.
They weren't reading along with the scripts, but I was, so I could see you guys skip a lot of the dialogue tags to keep the flow
it
really
really
smooth.
helps keep it a lot smooth, and I think it's a better audio experience. I think they're great and necessary for the writing, but
Oh,
man,
sure.
I think it sounds so much better in an audiobook.
Yeah, I mean the writing, like I used to really under tag a lot, like in Destroyer.
Oh, yeah?
And I got feedback from readers who are like, I can't tell who's talking. I'm like, there's only 2 people in the scene. What do you mean you can't tell who's talking? Like, you know,
a big number.
yeah. So, and then 3 people in the scene, I would still shy away from dialogue tagging, but I think as
Yeah.
I, tried to write more books that were easier to read, I just tag everything pretty much, unless it's really stupid obvious that it's not the person. I just tag everything now.
Well, it helps us also reading the story when it's stuff like that we can skip, like chuckled, sighed, breathed, whispered. It does help us as narrators inform us how we should say the line. Because if like suddenly we're like, Victor, what's going on? She whispered. It doesn't make any sense.
Sure, and they don't see, like I saw you guys using the tag, and then you read it as I described it for the tag.
Yeah.
Right, like you whispered, you were chuckling, you laughed,
absolutely.
right? And then you just didn't say the tag, and I was like, that's just like, but you did it so fast. I mean, obviously you're professionals, that's your job, right? But I was like amazed reading along, and I'm like, holy crap, like that's, you're reading faster than I'm.
Yeah,
I'm
neither
reading.
of us read this ahead of time. Like Jess and I almost never read our books ahead of time. We usually just pick the stuff up. And when you're like you're saying one thing, but your eyes are reading like 2 or 3 lines at least ahead to see what's coming up.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Absolutely.
So this is the total cold read.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I only looked through because Jess had mentioned that she thought maybe there was another dude voice in here that I would have to.
It was a dinosaur.
Yeah, I figured. But yeah, no, we always do cold reads. I can't.
Well, I mean, so it's a cold read, but at the beginning of the month, when we get all of our scripts and everything, we do scan through the script to get a sense of the story in general, and if there are any like major new characters that like have a huge plot twist at the end, like he ends up actually being the bad guy and stabs the main character in the back, like you want that to be informed or to not be as obvious in the beginning, and you want to create a voice and a cadence to that character that's going to make sense so that when they have that turn or something, or maybe this hardly ever happens, but every once in a while we'll get a character that like 3 chapters after they're introduced, like her thick Brooklyn accent. And I'm like, what? So like knowing things like that ahead of time is helpful. So you don't have to go back and redo a character. We've only had that. Well, we had that happen recently. I can't remember which book it is, but we had a book where we had a whole entire book with this character in it. And then halfway through the second book they were involved in, the character goes, "Where are you from again?" And my character said, "Sweden." And I was like, her accent I had chosen was like
Australian. It was Australian.
It was Australian. I was like,
no,
we need to have an Australian Swedish person.
Oh my gosh.
Those exist. But I was like, this was the second book. Like this was like not even she was introduced, and then halfway through the second book is when Sweden was pushed, and I went,
Does the author, do you guys have authors listen to the books, or is it mostly just they don't listen? Like I don't really listen. Yeah. You guys do the beta stuff. You just give me the book, and if I have a chance, I'll listen to it.
The smaller authors like to hear their stuff. The ones who aren't quite like on the machine, like on their grind.
Yeah, really like Christopher Rosso that we do the Ben Porter series with likes to listen to the books. Curtis Eckstein that we do the Immortal Supers really and some stuff. Likes to listen. So it just depends on the author. Like honestly, some authors do, some authors don't. Eric Fall, Logan Jacobs, I don't think do either.
I have my so when I finish a book, I work on the outline for the next book, and then when I'm ready to work on it again, I actually listen to the audiobook while I'm doing chores.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's what I listen to. But that could be a couple months after I write it because I go to another series. So I've got I am gonna work after Tamer. I'm working on Monster Empire. So I have the outline already done,
Yeah.
And so once Tamer's over, I'll just pop the audiobook in for book 2, and I'll just start listening to Monster Empire 2, and just double check myself. And then, whenever I get to the audiobook, I'll just go and do it. And it's really helped, I think, listen to the audiobook, because I feel like I can hear the characters' voices that you guys do while I'm writing, and it helps me. It definitely helps change like how I write characters and stuff.
Yeah.
And I make sure that when I have scenes, I'm leaning more into their personalities and giving everyone speaking lines, where maybe I would, like, I try to make sure like all the, it says in Tamer with the campfire scenes when everyone's talking, I try to make sure I have a list, and I'm like, does everyone get a couple lines? So Jess really has to work super hard spinning her plates.
Oh yeah. Those are always fun. No,
Yes,
it's
we had
fine.
a couple of questions about your about where we're from. I told them I met you down south when I was in school there, but I did say that you got a slightly more diverse background than just being like a Southern gal.
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, I was born in Montana because my mom was going to college in Montana, but like 3 months later, she moved back home because she was a single parent. So I definitely then was raised in Alabama and everything.
Yep. I mean, I was born in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, but I don't have any memory. I left when I was 2, so I don't really have any memory. But a lot of places, guys. So for those who are curious,
have you guys done any plays together or shows together?
We haven't done any. We haven't done any plays. No, we have like.
That's crazy. We
did
haven't, have we?
No, because you did most of your training like the year or 2 before I got there.
Well, yeah, I had to cram my whole theater degree into 1 year because my Montgomery GI Bill was running out, and I had
no clue. I still don't know how on earth you did that, because that's 180 hours. You must have like been able to talk not doing half of your work.
I had a bunch of just like of the minor credits, like the stuff for, there was a bunch of minor stuff that bled over into other things. Like,
but Stagecraft Lab,
I did that.
Nothing else. You are supposed to do that for 6 semesters. So how did you cram that into a year?
I don't know. That's fair. I didn't know you had to do that for 6 semesters.
Yeah,
so
you have to do. You have to do.
Well, wait
that
a second. You guys got the BFA. I got a BS in dramatic arts, and didn't.
No, it's not. They haven't had a BFA. It still is a BS. It's still bullshit.
I think they probably just wanted. I think Adina Marie wanted to get me the fuck out of there. Probably. It's like, I don't know. Just go.
Anyway, but yeah,
Chris,
we. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say you were gonna do you were gonna buy a theater for a while, right? Are you still?
We're definitely headed that way. We just had this new, that new company that's kind of based in China hit us up. We're heading that way. So hilariously, I got into audiobooks while doing a theater. I was on tour doing a theater show, and the sound guy had an audio booth in his place because he was a musician and he had it, and he was like, dude, you do, because I do my warm-ups for theater shows, I always quote The Princess Bride and do all the voices. And he was like, dude, you do voices, like you should consider audiobooks. And I was like, is that a thing? And he was like, yeah. And so that's how I got into audiobooks, and I was still working out a whole new business model for theater, which we're going to do and we're super excited for. Probably in the next year we'll spin up some stuff on theater that's super exciting. We're really excited for. Nice. But we'll eventually get a theater where hopefully in the daytime we'll do our audiobook stuff, and we'll have all our audio booths set up in the theater, and then in the evening we'll be doing theater stuff. So that's the goal.
Is there like a I mean, we probably obviously looked at the business model for that, but like I've been talking to my wife about this, like how we like going to the movie theaters where there's food and watching a movie theater, like a movie. Like we're gonna go see Sonic the Hedgehog 2 tomorrow. And because the kids love it, so for to go out to lunch and see it. And like it's just great sitting there and eating and watching the show. You don't want to watch
Carrie's performance. Jim Carrey's brilliant in that role.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm always like,
in general.
But if I, and I was just always thought, like, if there was a place you can go to eat that was a live theater, like
that's what kills me, that everybody has, because you go to a theater show and then you've got to like make your dinner res somewhere else.
Yeah,
and you
totally.
Get out in traffic. Like it should be an evening of like one stop, and especially with live theater.
Yeah.
I've done a little bit of research on this, and the studies seem to show that live theater is the most is the like media event, the artistic event that people will actually like talk to each other and talk to strangers about afterwards.
Yeah.
They've got a bunch of people who have just finally experienced something together, because God knows we're all on our friggin' laptops and whatever, it's forever. And they're primed to be having a good time. Why the hell don't you clear that stage and have a party or have drinks and make it a bar? Like, I'm always baffled that that's not a thing. So that's my plan, is to make the theater a place you can go and kind of have your whole
do
night.
dinner. Do dinner there.
Exactly.
And then after the show is over, you clear everything and then do a bar.
Right?
No, but they're not designed for, like, they're kind of like designed for separately. I'm talking about a thing where, like, you watch the show and then do dinner afterwards. You can mingle. Like, there's a lot more kind of like dancing, music,
Oh, okay.
drinks.
Because I was like, dinner theater.
No, I know the dinner theater exists, but
it's not separate.
It's like you go to your it's not like, it's like you go to your table and like you sit down, you watch the show, but you're still kind of just with your own people. Like, this is, you go to the show, and then afterwards it's set up to like be this place you can mingle. And
it's almost like a networking event right after the fact.
Yeah. And then you have something to all talk about. You can all chat about, like, oh man, how cool is that show? Like, and you've got ready-made
conversation. You go to the Glass House Tavern after the Broadway show, because that's where everybody goes.
Right. I mean, but that concept is cool, because then you as the actors could actually mingle with the people after.
Exactly. Like, you can go out and chat people up, and they can ask questions, and you can kind of, that's the idea, is that, that's the thing that separates. When you're doing it live, like, the people are there and you can mingle and talk to them, and you can ask them questions, and like maybe pay a little bit to spend, like, go off and like have a cheap glass of wine and be like, hey, so tell me about that scene. Like, there seemed to be this dynamic going on, and you can like get access to the people. Like, sounds like an interesting model. I'm curious about it.
It's exciting. I'm hoping you guys can get that. I need to go out to New York and hang out with you guys.
Oh, dude,
now that COVID restrictions are a lot less everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys want to talk about your super secret project?
Oh yeah. So we had paid one of the authors. I think was it Rob did some legal thrillers from another author that we worked with, and we had this idea. Now I might be dating myself a little bit here, because that, Jess, what was it when you were? It was like Goosebumps.
Goosebumps had a whole brand of choose your own adventure stories.
Yeah. So for those who are a little bit older, like me and our esteemed author here, there was like the choose your own adventure stories from back in the day. Next Gen, I guess, had like the Goosebumps kind of stuff, and probably some other brands and whatnot. But we got together with an author that we had eyes on, and I think we might have done even a couple of audiobooks for
him. He has audiobooks on.
I think it was Bradvica.
Audiobook.
Robert did
it's Dave Darren,
books, right?
It's the author.
Yeah.
Dave Darren, he writes thrillers, and he's on Audiobook Guild.
And so I had always had this, I just loved Choose Your Own Adventures and making this kind of more interactive version of storytelling, probably for my love of Mass Effect, which I thought was just kind of one great big story, and I really enjoyed it. And so we licensed the ability to take, we talked to the author, and he was really interested in kind of the idea, thought it was very novel and interesting. So he wrote us a choose your own adventure, or a decide your fate, since we don't want to get sued by ChooseCo, because that would suck. So a decide your fate story with multiple endings. And we paid a designer or a computer programmer to design and build us an app that you will get to download, and it will let you do the audiobook and make all the choices, and we'll be able to unlock secret endings. Like, it will remember which choices you've made, not just for the paths the story will take, but to see like, oh, did you make this little minor choice? And a little bit video game like you can say like, oh, did you pick up that clue or whatever? And if so, oh, you unlock this special a video recording of the villain confessing, so you get a scene of the confession at the police station or what have you. So it's going to be both an audiobook, but it will also have visual elements to it. We're going to
set in New York, right? So you guys
we had it set up in New York so that we can get all the people at Actors Everywhere to be in costume and actually shoot photos of it, so that all throughout the book there'll be visual elements of it, and then a couple of hidden secret little scenes that are actually filmed, and we get to have people watch that. So it's a project that's going to take us a little while to get together. We're planning it out. We want to do it right. But we've got the script. It's super awesome. I've got ideas for who I think are going to be in various characters. But we're super excited. So keep an eye on it. And you guys can check it out on our Patreon later. So yeah, that's what we're got going on.
I was gonna say, I mean, it's one of the reasons that you guys kind of started up a Patreon, right? So that you guys can fund like a lot of these cool ideas that you have, just kind of like you know we do on the MSC side with our Patreon for the Tamer visual novel, right?
Oh God, yeah, that thing is so cool, man. When you guys showed me sneak peeks of that stuff when it was getting started, it was so awesome to watch.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah,
Well,
Reed told me,
also, like, a lot of our fans have been asking a lot, like, oh, we want to hear some bloopers. Like, Andrea Parsnew does bloopers at the end of her audiobook and things like that. And we were just like, we want to share that with our fans and stuff. And we wanted a way to better connect with the people that support us.
yeah, bloopers are great. They're so
Oh, yeah.
The ones you have in Viking Runesmith make me laugh. They're really good.
There's just some so someone asked earlier if like we can't wait to get the cameras in the booth too, because a lot of the stuff that's really funny doesn't translate to just audio. There's just some goofy stuff sometimes that we just see, like the little
I'm a weirdo in the booth because I don't talk nearly as much.
Booth.
So I behave like a crazy person half the time. Also, my body does not want to be my friend. And so like half the time I'll like need to like squat down or like stretch while he's talking because like my body starts cramping up after a while. So like you just sit,
She'll
like
do yoga in the booth or something.
Oh,
and I'll be reading, but I will give her a look like, and we have these whole silent conversations. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, and it's this weird silent convo.
Awesome. Does anyone have any other questions before we bounce? Or Rob, is there anything else we should talk about?
I'm trying to think. I don't think. I mean, we've covered everything that we needed to cover. Obviously, again, this was for you guys, right? Like, we know you guys are super hyped for the book. Especially the audiobook guys out there. We know you love Chris and Jess. So getting to see them live hopefully is a treat. And again, they're doing more of this in their Patreon, and they're just going to keep adding content like this, I believe. In the future, and obviously I'll try to beg them to come on and do more of this in the future on it for us as well. AKA,
oh sure, this was a blast.
This is fun, right? I mean, this is great. This is a great way to interact. These videos are going to be available. I think I'm going to leave them on Facebook, but I'm also going to put them on the YouTube channel. Chris and Jess, I'll give you a copy too if you actually want to put it inside your Patreon for your guys.
Sweet. That'd be great.
But share it out. Show all your friends, maybe not your family, but some of your family maybe. How awesome this stuff is and can be.
So I've got a question for Chris and Jess. Have your parents or your family listened to any of the books you've done?
So this is how I do it. I go, when a new audiobook comes out, I go, Mom, you can listen to this one. Mom, you can't listen to this one. I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't want my family to ever listen to me do a harem book. I'm sorry. I don't want them to hear me moan in any shape or form. So I'm like, please just like stay far away from these books. But the ones that are like more PG or PG-13, where it's like a fade to black sort of situation, if there's anything that I'm like, you can listen to this one, like our Ben Porter series, like there's still like sexual elements in it, but it's always like fade to black, wake up the next morning with clothes strewn everywhere. So I'm like, you can listen to that one, but I don't want them to ever hear me do that. So
that's fair.
I've got let's see. So the Ben Porter series, which is a series that's kind of like a Michael Crichton, like a Jack Reacher, like FBI agent, and
Michael Crichton.
Oh, I thought Crichton did like a spy series. Do you not?
I don't know. I just think of him for Jurassic Park.
No, he did a really great book. My favorite book of his is A Great Train Robbery, which is a period piece.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, that's like that's like one of the best books I've ever read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's funny too because actually, I go back and I read him now, and I'm like, man, he is really fucking sloppy. Like he puts together these sentences and paragraphs. I'm like, this is like, where the fuck was his editor, man? These are just terrible sentences. I was super surprised that now that I'm going back and reading them as a writer, and I'm like, his syntax is just fucked up. But like that story was one of my favorites of his. Super good.
Yep. Yeah,
I'm
but
still here. I don't know what happened.
the
Yeah.
Ben Porter series is actually based largely in New England, where I spent a lot of time, and the main guy's from Boston, which is where I also spent a fair bit of time. So my family's got that one, and like here and there you do these books. Oh, Tom Clancy, thank you, Schultz. That's exactly who I was thinking. Tom Clancy, appreciate that. Yeah, I've got a couple of those books that my folks have listened to. There's also like a couple of like funny books that were Jesus Was a Time Traveler was a book. It is
That's crazy.
pretty hilarious book. It's a time travel comedy series. It's pretty funny, and my mother listened to that. She thought it was pretty hilarious. Yeah, a couple of the books. I'm still hung up on the fact that I just realized I've never done a theatrical show with Jess, even though we went through the same theater program and met and have worked together for so long.
Treasure old.
Yeah.
Hey Jess, on the bottom of your little screen, there's a camera button that you may.
I keep
off.
pressing it. It keeps like saying that even though I press it, it's not pressed.
Maybe you have a laptop with a privacy button that you can or privacy
that suddenly
switch.
Turned on halfway through this.
That I don't know. Who knows? Could have overheated
looks a lot
if
like
it's on
that
a
person in the
laptop.
picture, though. She looks a lot like that one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, y'all. You just get my voice now. Hey, look, it's like I'm doing my work again.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Something that I saw somebody throw out earlier, Chris, is something you might want to think about for your Patreon. Is I saw somebody say, "Hey, Chris, can you do Pride and Prejudice in Toddster's voice?"
Oh God. Oh God.
Oh my God.
If we had the time, I bet Chris would. I bet he would.
Yeah, I'm just saying. That's public. That's public domain. I'm pretty sure. You know,
it is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife.
No,
there you go. It's beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful.
You guys have opened up a can of worms, and I blame you all.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite
books.
books.
Of times, it was the blurst of time. What blurst of times?
All right. Anything else? There's a couple questions here. Someone asked how long Tamer's going to be. I think 20 books ish.
Damn, hell yeah.
And a couple other questions. Do we miss them?
There were a couple few there. There was what's it like to work with Jeff Hayes? Was a
oh yeah, what do you think of Jeff Hayes? So Jeff's super talented. The reason I don't work with him is he won't accept a flat pay rate. He only does.
Is he not a royalty share?
Yeah, he only does royalty share, and that's against my philosophy of of working with narrators. Is like, how much do you pay? I'll pay your rate, right? And then that's it. I don't so that's just. But yeah, I like. Jeff does a good job in his audiobooks.
Yeah, incredibly talented dude.
Yeah.
Let's see. I thought
I feel like you narrate Bill and Ted. Yeah.
Yeah. You threw Princess Bride out there. Obviously, that's
oh
you can't
God,
do that. But people
don't get him started. Do not get him started. I have to hear it at least a few times a week when he breaks character and goes into something because something reminds him of Princess Bride. Please.
We did just today. That actually happened. That happened just today.
I love Princess Bride, but I hate Princess Bride now.
Oh man.
I'll give one confession that was actually like just depressing, and I was kind of an idiot. So man, I was probably like 23. Like legitimately 23, when it occurred to me that the Princess Bride was actually fiction. So I don't know who's actually ever read the book of the book of the Princess Bride, but the way that he writes it is that he writes it like he was actually like the way the movie goes, where like the kid, his grandpa reads it to him. Like in the book, he sets it up that this book was actually an abridged version of a real book from the country of Florin that his father immigrated from. And that it was like in the Baltic states, how it broke up. So like it was all about whatever.
Yeah, that's how the book is set up.
I know, but he writes it like it's nonfiction. He's like, look, I'm just telling you that, like, he talks about how his editor got into it. Like he writes he writes little inserts. He's like, hey, author here. Just so you know, I had to cut this whole chapter because the original author, S. Morgenstern, wrote this huge diatribe that was actually a comment on tree forest deforestation and stuff. So forget it. I just chopped this part out. Back to your book. Like he wrote the whole book like that, and I fell for that shit until I was like 23. Like I had plans to buy a plane ticket to Florin and be like, oh, I'm going there someday. I'm gonna see the cliffs of insanity. I was like legit 23. I was like,
give him one line, Chris. One line.
No, no. One line for him is him just quoting the whole movie because he'll make it into one line. No, no.
All right. I'll put a spin on this. You have to quote Buttercup line in her voice.
He knows the whole freaking movie. He can quote it front to back. That doesn't help.
Just mute for like 10 seconds or 30 seconds.
No.
you mock my pain. Life is pain, Highness. And no one says
We said Buttercup, not Wesley.
I said you mock my pain. That part was Buttercup.
That's Buttercup.
Yeah, but then you went into a Wesley line. You did more than one line. You can't stop him once he
I'm a
starts.
giver.
He's like a
I'm a
freaking
giver,
Pringles can.
I'm a giver. I'm a giver.
Oh man! All right.
And like a Pringles can, I'm also made out of cardboard.
Oh.
Low key hoping that 6 Dionysuses get tamed and are named after the first gen Power Rangers. I don't know what this might do. I think that's pretty like esoteric. I mean, I would like to do that, but people didn't get Adrock, Mike D, and MCA. Like I had a bunch of I had a bunch of people like, "What's up with the Stegos names?" And I'm like, "Dude, like for real? You don't know the Beastie Boys?
Nope.
Like
Nope.
what?"
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean, like I figured everyone would know that, but no one. Like I got enough PMs and emails from people that were confused.
Next time you should do In Sync. Everybody knows that.
No boy band. Oh, we already have a boy band. Do we have boy band?
No.
No,
Let's
we
count
don't.
Beastie Boys as a boy band.
I'm gonna count them so that we don't have to do any other boy band.
They are a band.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
So
Is are Chris and Jess going to record Destroyer when I get the rights back? I'm hoping that will be the case. So we got 4 more years, and maybe we could talk about doing like an ensemble type thing. And Jess, you will like that because one out of every 3 chapters is from a female point of view, so you'll get
nice.
more. You'll get more.
Oh, very cool.
Action. Yeah, in there in the first 4 books.
I still want to go back to Concrete Chaos.
Yeah.
All y'all people in here that are watching this like Concrete Chaos enough to where Michael Scott will let me keep doing that book series because I love it.
Yeah.
And all y'all bitches don't like it. It makes me sad.
So, I better see how many people are still here. 126 Concrete Chaos sales.
126 people better buy Concrete Chaos. I love that book so much.
Concrete Chaos is a great story. Jess crushes it. It's from
it is really good.
Narration. It's freaking awesome.
And
the main character is so cool. Like seriously, she's a bike ride, like a motorcycle bike rider. She's freaking awesome. It's such a good story.
She's so badass. I love her, and it makes me sad that it's not liked as much as I want it to be liked.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they PM me instead of just Googling the names. Oh, that's like the internet, man. Like, yeah, I get emails all the time, or PMs all the time. Like, where do I get your books? I heard about you. Where do I get your books? I'm like, you just type my name in Google, man. You get the site.
We get them through the support function on the website, so I'm not really surprised. So
yeah. Oh yeah, we gotten messages on the website from the website asking how to get the books on the website store.
So
like
what?
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's
hey,
fine.
they're just trying to buy your books. It's fine.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I mean, I obviously I always answer it. I give screenshots to make it as easy as possible.
This is why Rob does this now, because I would not handle that well. Just like Rob's like, you should just be in your corner writing books and not deal with customers because you have zero chill when people are dumb.
Yeah.
And I know the internet can be confusing and stuff, but I'm like, I mean, it's a store. There's a button. You buy it. It goes to your cart. You check out the cart.
There's all sorts of stuff coming in here. Let's see. Something. Oh yeah.
Got spammed on Facebook. Then I bought Tamer. Yes, our marketing is working.
Yes. Buy it.
Yeah, and just you're going to re-record Wings of Justice. I think that's the plan eventually.
Woohoo!
Once I write the next books.
Nice.
Yes.
So that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So. Right.
Um,
I don't see any more questions.
no, I think the last one I was just, there was a couple people asking about Death Ship, and I know we talked about it last time, I think, but
Yeah. So here's the issue with Death Ships. This is something Chris and Jess and I talked about a bunch. I just the timing's wrong with picking a narrator group because I kind of want to get it fit. Like, I want to work on the books and get them done, so Chris doesn't have to worry about getting a narrator pair, and they have to stay there for like 4 years. So I want to finish some other stuff because I think at this point the only people that I know are gonna be here in 5 years to re-record the next book is Chris and Jess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean that's far enough away that we probably don't have to worry about it too much.
Yeah.
I think you could probably bank on Alyssa. She re-upped with us, so I think she'll probably be around for a little bit.
And she's awesome. She's one of my favorite narrators besides Jess. She's super good at her stuff. But yeah, that's what my concern is. Like, okay, let's do Death Ship this year, and they do the Death Ship next year, and then I do Death Ship the year after that, and then all of a sudden the narrator's like, well, I mean, I don't want to do, that's really hard on a narrator.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's kind of where we're at with some stuff. And Alex and Marissa, this has kind of come up because Alex and Marissa, they've just gotten booked solid by Podium and other authors and stuff. So, and they've had to increase their rates and stuff. And we don't have slots for a long time. So now I'm looking at Space Knight and Dragon Slayer, and I'm like, I don't know how I could, I guess I could do a book a year or something. But so we're just kind of trying to figure out what we do with those series, or hopefully they free up in the next couple months or something, and we can figure out stuff there. But yes, I think for this year we're focusing on, Tamer, Monster Empire, and Viking Ridsmith, because I know Chris and Jess are like, every month you guys are like, okay, what books can we do for you? Like, you have a book ready for us? We want to do your books, right? So I really appreciate you guys.
Oh, sure.
I know you have tons of work, right? But every month you check and make sure I have.
Well, we keep some time. We keep thoughts for you. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you'll be like, we'll do whatever you got first, and then we'll do everyone else's stuff. And I super appreciate that.
Yep, definitely.
So cool. I don't see other questions. So,
we appreciate you all being here a lot.
Yeah, guys, seriously,
taking the time out of your Thursday night to come hang out with us nerds.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. So
awesome,
guys. Thank you very, very much for
guys.
hanging out today. Taking the time. For those of you who've already supported the Kickstarter, thank you. For those who haven't, why not get in there right now?
Same with our Patreon.
And yes,
ditto with that Patreon.
And
if you're already a supporter, thank you. If you aren't, why aren't you?
Cool. All right, guys, have a good night.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.